Well, it is once again time for today's breakfast bite on Pure 24/7 Radio, and I have the pleasure of welcoming Andy Godfrey. Hello, Andy. Good to see you again.
Hey, Nathan. Good to see you. Great to be on the air again. And thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Always
absolutely.
look forward each week to talking to you about movies.
Yes, it is always something I look forward to each Friday, hearing about the latest in the world of cinema. What do you want to start with today?
Let's just mention one that's out that I haven't seen yet
Okay.
today. And I said to you off air, sometimes film companies will show new films to the press. They will have preview screenings. All sorts of things will happen with a new film. If that doesn't happen, if they don't arrange press screenings, it means they don't have a lot of confidence in the film in question because they don't want the press slating it before the film comes out. So out today is a new Disney live action film. We know that Disney have been uh, trying to breathe new life into their old animated features where they've been remaking them. So we've had The Lion King, The Little Mermaid, and Jungle Book, and Aladdin, and you name it, Pinocchio. The whole range, basically, of Disney animated films have been turned into live action versions. Most of them have been duff. Most of them have been financial failures. What they've done is, with some of them, is they've written new songs so that they could be included in the Oscars nomination for Best New Song. Today, we get a new live action Disney film of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Now, this is going to be really interesting because Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, first of all, was the very first ever full length animated feature. I don't know if you know this, Nathan, but when Walt Disney announced he was going to make a full length animated film, an hour and a half, everybody at the time told him he was nuts. People said to Walt Disney, nobody is going to go and sit through a cartoon that lasts an hour and a half. And he said, yes, they will. And they said, and people told him he was wasting his time, really, that it was a folly. And Snow White and Seven Dwarfs came out in 1938. And it was an hour and a half. Up to that point, the longest animated film had been about 15 minutes. So it was a massive hit. I mean, it was a huge hit. It wasn't long before he was just churning out, Fantasia followed and Pinocchio and Dumbo, all those films followed, all of which are now being made into live action. This film is going to be interesting. Rachel Zellweger plays Snow White, and she was the lead in Steven Spielberg's remake of West Side Story, in which she was very, very good a few years ago. But apparently there's been nothing but trouble on set. Apparently this was a very unhappy film shoot. So it's going to be really interesting to see the results. There was lots of turmoil. At one point, there was rumors that she'd walked off the set, that she didn't want anything more to do with it. And then she came back because, they wanted her back. They shot a lot of footage. And then there's some controversy because she's not strictly white. She's a mixed race lady and she's got a tan skin. And so that caused some controversy as well because Snow White's meant to be pure white, obviously. So it's going to be really, really interesting. I'll report back on it next week, and we shall see how it goes. So that's out today anyway. So I guess a lot of parents listening will say, yeah, sure. This is the one film in the cinema at the moment new film that I can take my kids to see. So I'll take them to see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Hopefully it'll be good. I mean, I go into every film hoping it's going to be good. Interestingly, the original Snow White was about an hour and a half. This new one's half an hour longer. And again, this is because they stick in new songs and they write new scenes, and so they're not, so we'll see anyway. I just wanted to announce that one, and the other one I wanted to announce was, and again we'll talk about this next week. And again, you said you'd heard of this when we were chatting off air. There is a new animated version coming out of King of Kings. Now, King of Kings was a mid 1960s film that told the story of Jesus. And in that film, John Wayne famously played the centurion at the crucifixion. And if you watch that film, it's the worst bit of acting, in my opinion, ever on screen. Because as Jesus dies in the film, as the sky goes dark, the centurion in silhouette stands there and he goes, surely this man was the Son of God, in a broad American accent. It's if it wasn't such a serious scene, you really would laugh. It's terrible. And the story goes that when around Hollywood was that the director came up to John Wayne and said, I want you to say it with more awe. And apparently John Wayne said, surely this man was the Son of God, and it's just a dreadful piece of acting. The film's fine. The film is perfect. It's a wonderful retelling of the story of Jesus, but it's got that dreadful moment in it, right at the heart of the crucifixion scene. It's just terrible. So there's a new animated version coming. I've been invited with a select number of people to, apparently, so I'm told. Why I've been selected, I don't know. Probably because I've written about films and I review for Pure and I review for Sorted, and we know the film company that's distributing it. And we got a private screening in Soho next week in London. So I'm going down and I'll be able to report back on that. So that will be an exclusive for Pure. So that's going to be good.
Yeah.
So some things to look forward to. I don't know if I'm looking forward to Snow White live action or not. I mean, I saw the original at the cinema last year, and it's pretty good. I mean, the original Snow White is actually quite frightening.
Is it?
There's a scene where she's running through the forest, and it gets really dark and really scary. And the Wicked Witch in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is really scary.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
I
it
haven't
is.
actually.
It's just a scary film when she's running through the forest. And I saw it in the cinema, and it was just really dark. And, anyway, we'll look forward to that. I can't imagine what they've done with it, but we will see. And I'll tell you next week. So shall we look at some other new films that are out, if you're happy?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so what I thought we could do, if it's okay with you, we could just chat down very briefly the top 15 movies
Yeah, sounds good.
in cinemas. Because I've seen 3 films. I had a day off on Monday. And for some people, this would be a nightmare. For me, it was the ultimate day off. I took myself off to my local Cineworld and I saw 3 films back to back, 3 new films. And that for me is the best day off I could ever imagine. Some people want to be out in the garden, some people want to be out playing sport. For me, wow, I got to see 3 films back to back at my local Cineworld. So let's just talk about the top 15, because some of them are in the top 15 and we'll just recommend them to people or not. Okay. So at number 15 is One of Them Days. We talked about this last week. This is 2 young ladies having the worst day of their life. One of them has given their rent money to her boyfriend. He's spent it. The landlord's threatening to evict them unless they can raise the money by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We get a countdown clock on screen. It's great fun. It's a 15 certificate, but it's great, great fun. At 14, and I can't believe this, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Now, this is the 12th week running it's been in the top 10 or top 15. So if you like Sonic the Hedgehog, if you're into your gaming, it's a entertaining film. I didn't really get quite into it. But Jim Carrey plays the bad guy and it's quite fun. There's a lot of fun to be had with Sonic the Hedgehog 3. At 13, we have got In the Lost Lands. Now, this was one of those films that I saw on Monday when I went for my triple bill. So this is based on a book by the creator of Game of Thrones. We are in the future. We are many, many years in the future where the Earth has been reduced to rubble following a nuclear war. And we have gangs roaming the planet looking for fuel, looking for food. Some people have been mutated by the radiation from the nuclear war and are able to do magic, actually, and able to do all sorts of. So this is pure fantasy. I mean, this is pure out there, So we have a witch and a bounty hunter looking for a werewolf, and we have people looking for fuel and food. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really entertaining. It's very dark. Again, it's 15 certificate, but it's a really out there fantasy film. A lot of my friends this week have been absolutely slating it and saying it's absolute rubbish. I'm quite happy to go against the grain on this one. I felt that In the Lost Lands was very, very good. At number 12, we've got Anora. Now, do you remember we mentioned that films that did well at the Oscars will be coming back to cinemas? So Anora is at number 12. It is a film that won the Best Picture Oscar this year. Story of a sex worker in Los Angeles who falls in love with the son of a Russian mafia guy, and he doesn't approve of the marriage. In the first half of the film, we see the 2 of them falling in love. The second half of the film, we see the young man on the run from his father, who's trying to get the marriage annulled. It's too long. I didn't think it was the best film last year by any stretch of the imagination. The Academy that votes for the Oscars did. It's there. It's a kind of crazy romantic love story. Now, 11 is a film called Opus. Now, this again was the second film that I saw on Monday on my day off. My perfect day off. Wonderful. I even had a hot dog in between. So this is a film called Opus. So this might be of interest to you guys. This is about the world's greatest pop star, who is played by John Malkovich. But nobody has heard from the world's greatest pop star in 30 years. And suddenly, an announcement is made on social media that the world's greatest pop star is coming back with the greatest album the world has ever heard. And we meet a young lady who is a music journalist for a pop magazine, and she and her editor are invited to this pop star's ranch, which is literally in the middle of nowhere, to hear this album. To be the very first, among the very first people. So they get up there, they're picked up on a coach with some other music journalists. They've driven out, literally. First of all, they get on a plane, and then they're driven by coach to the middle of nowhere, to this rock star's ranch where they're going to hear this album. Everything's fine when they arrive, no problem. They're welcome. They're shown to their rooms. The place is very nice. There's a nice swimming pool. It's all very luxurious. But then things start to go wrong, because what we realize is that the world's greatest rock star is actually using his ranch as a cover for a cult that he's formed. He's become a cultist, and he has adopted a very, very strange religion called leveling. And leveling is where you see God in everything. So you can worship that tree because God's in that tree. You can worship the field because you can worship your food because God's in the food. And there's a very strange ritual that these cultists go through, where we see them getting clams and forcing them open to try and find pearls inside. But every one of the members of the cult has to do so many clams in the course of a day to find the pearl. And this is part of their ritual. And this young lady begins to realize that something is really wrong. And eventually she says, I want to go home. There's something really unsettling about this, because what it builds up to is the fact that he is actually going to say to his followers on this ranch, I want you all to drink this wine, which he's poisoned, and we'll all go together into the promised land in the next life. So mass suicide. And she tries to escape. It's got a very nice twist ending. I didn't think it was great. There have been a number of films recently. There was one last year where people are invited to rich people's island or rich people's ranches and things go wrong. This is becoming a bit formulaic, but it's fine. It was entertaining. When it was on, it was entertaining, but it didn't stay with me after I came out of the cinema. But it's a really entertaining film. So at number 10 is the only one in the top 15 I haven't seen, but this is actually an opera that was broadcast live. So we'll pass it over. Number 9 is The Monkey, which is a Stephen King story, a horror film, quite effective. Number 8, and again, I can't believe this, 13 weeks in the charts, Mufasa the Lion King. So we were just talking about Disney live action films. This is a Disney live action film based on the Lion King. This is the Lion King when he was a little boy, basically, Mufasa when he was a little boy. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't. I thought it was one of the better live action films. I thought it had a really solid story, really entertaining. The songs are terrible. The songs are Lin-Manuel Miranda's having a really bad day with this offering, but it's one of those, again, it doesn't stay with you, but it's 13 weeks in the chart, so it's obviously doing really, really well. Number 7 is a film that we talked about last week called The Last Breath. This is the film about divers repairing pipes on the ocean sea floor. We see 2 divers go down very, very deep. They're on the floor of the ocean, and a storm hits on the surface, and they get cut off from their ship. And this is based on a true story. It's called The Last Breath. I sat there and held my breath all the way through. I was gripping the arm of it. This is intense and this is tense. It is a super duper film. Really worthwhile. It is. I said last week incorrectly that it's a 15 certificate. It's not. It's a 12A. So I apologize for misleading people. It is really worthwhile going to see. It's only an hour and a half, but it tells this true story of what happened when a diver, many thousands of feet down on the ocean floor, gets cut off from his ship. And on the screen, again, we get a countdown clock, second film with the countdown clock this week, where, 4 hours of oxygen left, 3 hours of oxygen left, minus 20 minutes of oxygen, this kind of thing. And it's a true story. It is absolutely remarkable. It's, for me, the best film in cinemas at the moment. Number 6, for families, Dogman is still there, 6 weeks in the chart. It is a policeman and his dog. They have an accident. The surgeon sewed the head of the dog onto the body of the policeman. It's a wild and wacky, way out there cartoon. I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. The evil mastermind in this film is a cat who's got a headquarters that says "Evil Cat's Mastermind" on the roof. Secret hideout on the roof. The big sign, secret hideout. And you think, well, why don't people just see this? It's that kind of wacky way out film. Honestly, it's great fun. If you're looking for fun at the cinema, go and see Dogman. Number 5, Captain America, Brave New World, terrible, rubbish. Marvel just being lazy, just producing it. Despite the presence of Harrison Ford, he cannot rescue this film. It is a really poor superhero movie that is predictable, that is plodding, that gives no thought whatsoever to a real plot and to what's actually happening. So, number 4 is a film called Marching Powder. This is an 18 certificate film which I haven't seen. It's about gangs in London, basically. It's about a hoodlum in London, and they make great virtue of the fact that they use nothing but bad language in this film. The trailer, I've seen the trailer. The trailer is just one bad word after another, after another, after another. But this is supposed to be virtuous because this is how real people live in London. So we are told. That's the number 4. Number 3, this is the third one that I saw. So I saw Opus and I saw In the Lost Lands. This was my favourite of the 3 on Monday when I had my day off. So this is called Black Bag. And I really want to recommend this to people. It's only an hour and a half. This is, we have a husband and wife who are both spies for the British government, but they're not allowed to talk to each other about their work. So he will say to her, "Where were you this week?" And she will say, "Black Bag." And black bag means I can't tell you. Okay, it's in a black bag. I can't tell you. She says to him, "Well, what job were you on this week?" And he goes, "Black bag." Right at the beginning of the film, the husband is approached by his boss, who says, "We've got a leak in the department. Somebody's leaking secrets to the enemy. Here is a list of the suspects." Okay. On that list is his wife. Okay. He doesn't believe for a second that she's a traitor. What he does is he arranges a meal and he invites all the people on the list back to his house for a meal, but he spikes a certain part of the salad, the dressing and the salad, and he spikes it so in the hope that the other 5 will sort of, he says to his wife, "Don't have any of the dressing, I've spiked it," because he trusts her. But the other 5 do have the dressing, and it's meant to loosen their lips, meant to get them talking, meant to get them a little bit inebriated so that they begin to open up. And he's sitting there. There's this really long scene where they're at the meal, just having this meal, and he's just sitting there watching them, to see which one he thinks is the traitor by what they're saying and the way they're acting. It's superb. I mean, it's only an hour and a half. It's all talk. There's a little bit of action towards the end. But many years ago, there was a film called Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which had a similar sort of theme. We've got to track down a traitor in the department. That was all talk, that film. This is all talk. But the dialogue is sharp, it's witty, it's clever, it's intriguing. You can't take your eyes off the screen. You never really know which one is the traitor, or indeed if the wife is the traitor, until all's revealed right at the very end. There is so much suspense in this film. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was absolutely one of the best spy films I've seen in a very long time. So it's called Black Bag. It is a 15 certificate, but it's new in the charts, first week in the charts. But honestly, go see it. It's really good.
Is that more of a whodunit then?
Yeah, kind of, exactly, Nathan. Yeah, it is. And so you just don't know till all of this revealed. And there's a sort of moment of revelation. But one of these 6 people is a traitor, and he's trying to figure out which one. And it could be his wife, but he doesn't believe it is. He won't accept the fact that his wife could be a traitor.
Yeah.
But anyway, it unravels, and I like whodunits. I don't know about you.
I do a lot. I remember watching one with Daniel Craig. I think you talked about that one, Knives Out.
Yes.
Yeah, I do like whodunits.
It's a great film.
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really interesting that Daniel Craig played a sort of a southern drawl. It was very interesting. It's very odd to have him. You only miss James Bond, and there he is with his southern drawl in this as a
Right.
detective.
I
But
mean,
yeah, I do
Daniel
like
Craig is
whodunits.
a very versatile actor.
Yeah.
We forget because of his prominence as Bond. We forget. I mean, when he was making Bond, he appeared in a science fiction film with Nicole Kidman, which was a remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, again played an American, and he was excellent in that. Yeah. I mean, Murder on the Orient Express and those kind of films.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, I just love them.
Yeah, you just like to watch a lot of Foyle's War as
All
well,
right, okay,
that sort of thing. So it's great. I
yeah,
love those sort of things. It's generally quite a slow moving, like you say, more talk than action, but it's all
yeah.
about the intrigue and the sharp wit and the way that people are trying to tell lies or partial truths or twisted truths. It's very interesting because you want to try and work out who's in the wrong before you get
Exactly.
to the end.
Yeah, and this film Black Bag as well has got a great score. That sometimes scores give things away. You know, the music builds and builds and builds, and you think, something's going to happen because the
Yeah.
music builds. None of that with this. This has got a very subtle background, so it's a beautiful score actually. But yeah, no, that's great. So you would enjoy Black Bag. I'm pretty sure you would. It's a 15 certificate, but you would enjoy it based on what you just said. And that just leaves us with two. So at number two, we got Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I didn't think I was going to. I'm not a big fan of rom-coms. I'm working on my second book, and I've decided I've got to do a chapter on rom-coms. I've got to force myself to do a chapter on. You were kind enough to proofread my first book. You'll be getting chapters before you know it for the second one to proofread.
I look forward to it.
You're very kind. But Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, number two, and number one is Mickey 17. This film we talked about last week, science fiction film, where in the future human beings have learned to 3D print human beings. So we see this massive 3D printer producing human beings. And Mickey 17 is 17th incarnation of Mickey. He gets sent down to a planet where they're not sure about the atmosphere. It's okay if the atmosphere is no good and he dies, we'll just print up Mickey 18. Not a problem. They assume that Mickey 17 has died, and they print up Mickey 18, but Mickey 17 hasn't died. And he comes back onto the spaceship and all sorts of problems ensue. It really is a good, fun science fiction film set in the future. So that's the top 15. My recommendation for families would be Dogman is still in there. Mufasa the Lion King is still in there. Sonic the Hedgehog is still in there. And for those of us wanting to go to the cinema a bit more for grown-up films sort of thing, Black Bag, definitely go and see this spy thriller. Yeah. So
Awesome.
there you go. And next week we'll talk about Snow. I have every expectation that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs will go straight in at number one. I think it will go straight in at number one. We shall see, but I've got a feeling. So there you go. Shall we do a couple to watch at home because people may not want to go out to the cinema or be able to afford to?
Yeah, no, that sounds fine.
Okay, so let's do some to watch at home. First of all, a film that's not new. I mean, it's several years old now, but it's just come new on Netflix. So a film called Escape from Pretoria. So this is set in South Africa during the apartheid regime, and we know that Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for standing up against the apartheid regime. We meet some apartheid regime activists, one of them played by Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. Of course, there's another guy who's played a lot of roles, and yet we only ever associate him with Harry Potter. Actually, he's put in some very good performances. Other than Harry Potter, he was in a film called The Woman in Black, which was great. This film, Escape from Pretoria, is a true story of these activists. They were put in a secure prison, and it's a story of how they escaped. Now, I don't want to say anything about how they escaped. Some people will know the story, but they escaped in the most incredibly ingenious way you could possibly imagine. The film is captivating. It's a true story, and the way they got themselves out of prison is, you would say, if you didn't. I mean, I sat there watching it thinking, no, this can't be a true story. This is too incredible. This is too fantastic. This is too unbelievable to be a true story. It is a true story, and I've read up on it since. So Escape from Pretoria is on Netflix. I thought it was absolutely superb when I saw it when it came out. So it's a good few years ago now, but it's just turned up on Netflix. It kind of one of those films I think they got put on the shelf and then they dragged it off the shelf and said, let's get it back out there again. Also new on Netflix is a film called The Outrun. The Outrun. So we talked about this on the show last year. Saoirse Ronan plays a recovering alcoholic who is from the Outer Hebrides, and to escape from London and to escape from temptation of all the nightlife of London and everything. That's why she goes home. She reunites with her mother, who is a Bible-believing Christian. She reunites with her father, who is not a Bible-believing Christian and is separated from her mum. It's a brilliant story. There's one scene where she's standing in the sea, and it's like she's going to baptize herself to wash away the addiction, to cleanse herself of her past life and her past time. And it's just really touching and really moving. And she's standing in the sea, reflecting on her life, crying, and she dives in under the waves. And it's like a purification ritual. But it's a fabulously moving scene. And I really love The Outrun. It was a great film that came out last year, made my top 15 of last year. And it's now on Netflix. And I would say, go and see it. Sit down and watch it. There's a few family films, Mary Poppins and others that we've talked about still on the BBC iPlayer. But those are two new to watch at home, Escape from Pretoria and The Outrun. And I would say have a look at both of those. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Andy. Lots of great films there. The top 15 in the box office at the moment. Plenty there for everyone, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you want cartoons, there's cartoons. If you want thrillers, there's thrillers. If you want science fiction, there's science fiction. If you want comic book hero, we are pretty well being spoiled at the moment, and I quite like having that variety in cinema. You know me, I'll sit and watch anything and everything. And it is good to get a bit of variety because when you go to the cinema, it's not cheap. Appreciate this, especially in the day and age in which we live. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be able to afford a Cineworld card. So I pay so much a month and I can go as many times as I like. And it pays for itself after 2 visits. Already this month I've been to the cinema, I don't know how many times. So, but it's not cheap for people. It's but if you're taking kids and they want popcorn and they want a drink and they want a hot dog or whatever, it's not cheap. And I think one of the things I try to do when we're talking on air for the benefit of parents, for the benefit of everybody really, is to say, yeah, I enjoyed this film, but it is a 15 certificate, so we're trying to give people a fair understanding. And if people do ever want more information, you can go to the British Board of Film Classification website and you can look up any given film and that will tell you how many swear words are in this film and what they are. It will tell you if there's gory scenes in this film, and it will be specific about the type of gore. If there's sex in the film, it will be specific again about the sex scene. So if you're ever unsure about a film that you say, oh, I might go and see that, but is it going to be a bit dodgy? Am I going to enjoy it or not? You can go to the British Board of Film Classification, BBFC, and they will tell you in great detail the content of it. And I always recommend that. I mean, I've friends who will ring up. Sometimes my brother will ring up and he'll say, we're thinking of going to see such and such. What did you think of it? And I will say, fine. But I will tell them what I thought. But then I will always say, but check out the BBFC if you're not sure, because you do get the information that you need, particularly on parental guidance in regards, and it will tell you why they have chosen to give a film the certificate they've given it. We have given this film a 15 certificate because, and it will list bullet points. We have given this film a PG certificate because, and of course you get the certificate at the start of each film with the bullet points on. But it's really, if you're not sure, because as I say, going to the cinema isn't cheap, and you don't want to go think, oh, I've wasted my time, or I've wasted my money, or why did Andy Godfrey tell me to go and see that? I'm never listening to his advice again. Just check that out, okay, so that it's not just me.
No, that's very useful. Thanks so much, Andy. And thank you for bringing us the movie reviews for this week. It's been a pleasure as always. Hope you have a fantastic day.
Thanks, Nathan. And next week, an exclusive, King of Kings, the animated version.
I look forward to it.
God bless you and God bless you.